On her wedding day, Emma Parker stood in front of the mirror in her old bedroom, barely recognizing her reflection. The snow-white wedding dress she had dreamed of since childhood fit her perfectly, and her chestnut hair was styled in elegant waves beneath a delicate veil. In the morning sunlight, thousands of tiny crystals on the bodice shimmered magically. Everything was exactly as she had planned for the past year and a half. Every detail, every element had been thought through to the smallest nuance. At her feet lay her loyal companion, a German shepherd named Storm, resting his head on his paws as amber eyes followed her every movement with unusual concern. The silver streaks on his muzzle made him look like a wise elder. At 13 years old, he had been her inseparable companion since high school through college and into adult life. Emma had rescued him as a skinny 8-month-old puppy from a shelter in their small town of Bloomfield, and since then he had repaid her with a loyalty beyond measure. In those first days after Storm entered her life, Emma spent hours training him, helping him rebuild trust in people and healing his old wounds, both physical and emotional. For the first month, Storm would only sleep in the corner of the room, pressed against the wall, flinching at every loud sound. Every evening, Emma sat on the floor beside him quietly. Welcome to Spa Stories, where the line between the known and the unknown fades, and the shadows whisper truths untold. Tonight, we delve into the primal connection between humans and animals, a bond forged in trust, sometimes fear, and always in mystery. At every loud sound, every evening, Emma sat on the floor beside him quietly, reading books until he began to inch closer to her. A small scar on his left ear, an echo of his previous life, was gradually hidden by new fur. Over time, the frightened, insecure puppy transformed into a proud, strong dog whose boundless devotion to his owner amazed everyone who knew them. Storm was present for all the important moments in Emma's life. He comforted her after her first heartbreak, when she spent hours crying into his warm fur for 3 days. He refused to go for a walk without her. Afraid to leave her alone, he stayed by her bedside during a severe illness in her senior year of high school, refusing food until she began to recover. For 2 weeks, Emma battled a high fever, and during that time, Storm brought her slippers in the morning and rested his head on her bed whenever she stirred. He sat beside her as she prepared for college exams, patiently listening as she recited material aloud. It was Storm who first introduced her to Nathan 3 years ago in the city park. On that autumn day, Emma let her dog run free, and he, in an unusual display of enthusiasm, ran up to a stranger and began tugging insistently at his sleeve, leading him toward his startled owner. Nathan, wearing a war leather jacket with dog treats scattered in its pockets, had just visited his sister and her pet. Storm, detecting the treats, decided it was fate. As it turned out, this was the first and only time Storm had shown such interest in a stranger, as if he instinctively knew this man would change their lives. Nathan, a young architect who had recently moved to their town, won in the hearts of both Emma and her 4-legged protector. That day, he shared his treats with Storm and spent an hour walking with them in the park, talking about his unique house design. Storm, usually wary of strangers, accepted him instantly. He greeted Nathan with joyful barks, brought him his favorite toys, and always tried to sit close whenever he visited. Over the years, Storm became an integral part of their little family. He joined them on picnics and hikes, carrying his bowl and water in a special backpack. He patiently posed for countless photos, witnessed their first kiss, and silently kept their secrets. When Nathan proposed to Emma by the lake, it was Storm who brought the ring tied to his collar with a satin ribbon. The ring almost slipped off as Storm navigated through tall grass, but he somehow managed to keep it safe. Including their beloved pet in the wedding ceremony was a natural decision. Emma insisted on it despite her mother's initial objections that a dog had no place at such event. Nathan, as always, understanding her feelings fully, supported the idea. They even ordered a special bow tie collar from a local artisan who spent a week embroidering the couple's initials with silver thread. Storm patiently endured 3 fittings to ensure the collar fit perfectly. However, in the past week, Emma began noticing worrisome changes in her old friend's behavior. Storm had become less active, almost stopped eating, and slept more. His favorite treat, boiled turkey, remained untouched in his bowl. At night he would often get up and approach Emma's bed as if to check if she was still there. She attributed this to his age and the general excitement around the upcoming event, but now looking into his anxious eyes, she began to realize she might have been wrong. The wedding morning unfolded in a joyful bustle. The house was filled with excitement. Bridesmaids in flowing blue dresses, the rustling of combs, the clinking of crystal bottles, and the quiet instructions of the wedding planner created a special festive atmosphere. The air was fragrant with fresh flowers and coffee mixed with the scent of hairspray. Storm followed Emma closely, his claws tapping softly on the parrot floor. His movements were slower than usual and his eyes held an unspoken sadness. Lily, Emma's best friend since school, was the first to notice something was wrong. She saw how heavily the dog was breathing and how his paws trembled as he walked. His once shiny coat seemed dull despite a recent bath. Her concern spread to Emma, who began glancing worriedly at her loyal companion more and more often. On the way to the Old Street Thomas Church, Storm behaved unusually calm. In the car he shifted restlessly, pressing closer to Emma as if afraid to lose sight of her. His breathing grew uneven, and damp paw prints marked the light-colored upholstery of the seat. His anxiety was almost palpable, making the bride's heart ache with foreboding. The church garden greeted them with golden September splendor. Red maples shed their leaves, which swirled in the cool morning air like tiny fiery lanterns. The photographer was already setting up for pre-wedding photos, planning to capture the bride against the backdrop of an ancient maple tree adorned in autumn splendor. Sunbeams peered through the carved leaves, creating intricate patterns of light and shadow on the ground. But fate had other plans. As Emma took her position from the photo shoot, something unexpected happened. Storm, who had been quietly sitting next to her father, suddenly rose and stood firmly in front of Emma, blocking her from the camera. His paws left damp marks on the stone path and his chest heaved with labored breaths. His behavior wasn't aggressive, it was pleading, as if he were trying to say something. It was then that Emma realized how seriously ill her faithful friend was. His breathing was strained, his heart raced unnaturally, and his legs trembled noticeably. The tip of his nose, usually cold and wet, was dry, and warm attempts to lead him aside proved futile. Storm stood his ground like a sentinel. An urgent visit to veterinarian Dr. Black revealed the harsh truth. Storm was suffering from heart failure. In the exam room, the heart monitor beeped faintly, tracking his uneven heartbeat. X-rays showed an enlarged heart. His condition was serious, and the stress of the wedding day had only worsened it. Emma faced a difficult choice, but in reality there was no choice at all. She couldn't leave her loyal friend in such a moment. Nathan, rushing to the clinic after a call from Emma's father, displayed incredible understanding. His pristine white shirt bore the stain of spilled coffee from his haste to reach the car. Not only did he support Emma's decision to postpone the ceremony, but he also suggested an alternative to hold the wedding right there in the veterinary clinic so that Storm could stay close without endangering his health. The next few hours became a testament to how love can transform reality. The veterinary clinic's reception area, with the help of friends and family, turned into an improvised wedding venue. Fresh flowers from the church filled the room with the scent of roses, and Liz, the priest, readily agreed to conduct the ceremony in such an unusual setting. Storm, after receiving treatment, lay at the couple's feet, his tail weakly but happily thumping on the floor during the exchange of vows. It wasn't the lavish wedding they had planned. There was no elegant restaurant, no hundreds of guests, no gourmet dishes, but at that moment no one cared. In the small room of the veterinary clinic, where the bride in a slightly rumpled dress and the groom in a slightly stained suit exchanged rings under the gentle breathing of their old dog, something far more important took place: the celebration of genuine, unconditional love. The first stand holding Storm's medication became a sort of wedding arch, and Dr. Black's stethoscope turned into an unusual decoration at the makeshift altar. The following months became a time of special closeness for the newlyweds. They set up a special corner in the living room where Storm could rest comfortably on his orthopedic bed and watch everything happening around him. They built their family life around caring for their pet, making each day a celebration of life. Each morning Nathan carried Storm into the garden so he could bask in the sun, and in the evenings Emma spent hours massaging his tired paws despite his worsening illness. The dog continued to give them his love and loyalty until his final day when it was time to say goodbye. It happened on a quiet spring evening. The air smelled of lilacs and the songs of the first spring. Birds drifted through the open window. Storm passed away peacefully in Emma and Nathan's arms, surrounded by the love of those he had so faithfully protected and cared for. His fur was still warm and soft as he took his last breath. His final gift was a lesson that true love isn't measured by grand ceremonies or the number of guests. It's measured by the willingness to stay by someone's side no matter what happens. A year later, Emma and Nathan returned to the very shelter where their family story began. The shelter smelled of fresh paint. Recent renovations had been completed. With their help and Storm's memory there, they met an elderly golden retriever named Harper, whose kind eyes reminded them so much of Storm's gaze. Harper had a graying muzzle and a slight limp, but his tail always wagged cheerfully when he saw people. They knew they were ready to open their hearts again and continue the tradition of unconditional love. Their first four-legged friend had taught them. Their home now featured a special memory wall with photos of their unusual wedding. Storm's worn collar with the bow tie, his favorite toy, a battered tennis ball, and a simple wooden plaque with the engraved words, "Love doesn't always come as planned, but it always takes us where we need to be." Every year on their wedding anniversary, Emma and Nathan visit the local animal shelter with donations and spend time with elderly dogs still waiting for their chance at happiness. They bring fresh blankets, toys, and special food, knowing how important comfort is for older pets. They share their story with anyone willing to listen, reminding people that sometimes the most beautiful moments in life happen in ways we never expected. Storm's legacy lives on in Emma and Nathan's good deeds, their willingness to help other animals, and their ability to see beauty in life's imperfect moments. Harper, the couple's new friend, brought his own magic into their lives, though he never replaced Storm. He created a new chapter in their family story with his unique habits and traditions. His love for playgrounds and ability to connect with children made him a favorite in the neighborhood. He proved that the heart can grow and love again, never losing its memory of the past. Now when Emma and Nathan share the story of their wedding, they don't talk about what went wrong. They talk about how one loyal dog taught them the most important lesson in life. Sometimes you have to let go of your perfect plans to make room for something far more beautiful, a moment of pure unconditional love.